You know what's been fascinating to watch is after October 7th, that big raid, Hamas raids Israel and whatnot, how that has transferred over here to America and how it's created all these different proxy wars with all these different factions on the left and right here in America. It's been fascinating to watch. You know, it's not really something I harp on a lot. I focus more on debt and immigration and things like that. I try to keep, bigger things, but it's impossible not to watch it. And it's wild that something can stir that many different emotions in people. Anyway, talk about that and other things. Joining me now, Lisa Reynolds, producer of The Culture War. Also for our purposes today, she's a former Congressional Communications Director. Lisa, before we get into that portion of it, don't you find it fascinating the different factions on the left and right with clear biases? I mean, everyone denies they have them, but clear biases have popped up all over the place. It's been crazy to watch.
Well, it has been crazy to watch, and thank you for having me. But it has been crazy to watch because there's always been the right and left culture war going on right now, and we are seeing both of those split off into their own little cultural wars, which I find absolutely fascinating. And you nailed it today in your tweet with a list of sides and things that people are taking. I think that. I think that a lot of people forget that regular normie Republicans, though, aren't having these fights that we're seeing for those who are perpetually online. I think that is something that's isolated to, say, Twitter or Facebook or those type of social media sites.
I'm really glad you brought this up, Lisa. This is a great point that actually I was trying to figure out how to put it, and you put it perfectly. I was at two different parties this weekend. No, I'm not some party animal. They were boring neighborhood, old white people parties. But I was at two different parties this weekend. We're throwing horseshoes, we're grilling burgers. And of course, politics comes up because I'm there and they all want to talk politics with me. And I just let them all talk. And there were conversations about everything, from spending and all this stuff. Not one person at either of those parties brought up protests on college campus or Israel, Hamas, or October 7th. Not one person. And yet the GOP, it's understandable why the Democrats did. The GOP, it's all they can talk about. It's like neither party cares about what normal people think, or do they even know what normal people think?
The reason that the GOP is focusing in on this is because, at least in Republican circles, they say the Democrats always fight. They always stick together. They don't fight each other. It's always the Republicans that split off, which is not necessarily true, especially if you worked on the Hill. You see the Democrats say, you guys always stick together. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But they definitely want to highlight how the base feels and how corporate donors feel about this Israel issue, and how Biden isn't handling it appropriately, and how they're tearing each other apart. That is their goal, is to highlight the problems within the Democrats. So while the average American doesn't care or isn't really paying attention to it, it is those, like I said, perpetually online. That's comms directors' jobs, is to show how the Democrats are terrible for America, and even how they have problems with their own party and the fights that they're having.
Lisa, what's it like being a congressional staffer? Is it glamorous? Is it hideous? Is it boring? What is it like? I mean, I've been on the Hill plenty of times meeting with this idiot congressman or that idiot senator, but I've never been a staffer up there. What's it like?
It's like Veep. I mean, like, if you've ever seen Veep, it's that ridiculous, but it's exciting. There's good parts and bad parts, about it, but for the most part, it's, you put your head down, you get your job done. I will say that people give the members too much credit. It is their staff that is very much pushing them, making decisions, even showing them which meeting to take. I mean, the members don't even approve, they approve their schedule, but they don't know which requests didn't get to them. I mean, the staffers control way more than what the average American thinks they do. And they are absolutely a part of the bureaucracy.
Lisa, let's talk about Democrats for a moment and the divisions that you just brought up within their party. This whole Muslim Jewish thing, it is a problem for Democrats, big time. 2/3 of Jews in this country have voted Democrat. About 99.99% of Muslims, I'm guessing there, vote Democrat in this country. This obviously has turned into a proxy religious war for many, not all, but many. And Democrats have been trying to walk a tightrope with both sides, but they can't, can they?
Well, they're definitely going to have some problems doing it. This is really, I think it's bigger than that. I think it's not just the religious issue. I think it's the culture war issue. It's DEI. So all of these liberals have been pushing DEI, and their main focus is like the colonizer, right? And so for them, Jewish people weren't put in the white people colonizer camp as much, or not highlighted as much. And so there have been lots of Jewish Democrats that have been spending their money on DEI programs and people that support DEI. And then when it really comes time to something like this happening, they're put into the same colonizer camp as regular white Americans, or, British or whatever. And so the problem is growing that way within their party, because they want to stick to these DEI mandates. But now they're one of their biggest donor classes, and the people that they have sworn to protect for almost all of, since like the 1948 at least, they're at odds. They're at odds. And we've had an influx of Muslims that they've let in under these DEI programs. I mean, their backs are up against the wall, especially because, like I said, so many of the Democrat donors are Jewish and are not happy with this, but their base, if you look at the polls, has dropped support for Israel almost 50%. I think they're polling under 50%. So they are definitely going to see a problem come November if they don't pick a side either way. Either way, it's bad for them, and it's their own fault.
Republicans suck too. I know that's not exactly breaking news to you, but this whole Mike Johnson thing, Lisa, I just can't be emotionally invested in it either way. People ask me, do I care if he stays or goes? Why would I care? He's useless if he stays. If he goes, the next guy will be useless, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. I only like Congress when they weren't even meeting, when they didn't have a speaker. So why should I care about this?
Oh, I'm all for the shutdowns. Like, it goes to show exactly what we don't need. Like, that's the kind of person I am. As far as Mike Johnson goes, I was actually very encouraged and very happy that we had somebody who was so openly Christian, so openly, for Jesus, in a leadership role. However, once you get in that position, I think a lot of people forget that we're always like, oust the rhinos and get rid of the rhinos. But those rhinos are rhinos because their district is made up that way, right? Like, they have people that are more moderate, or there's a lot of Democrats and Republicans, and they're trying to, mend those, ideas together, or what those people want in their district together. And Mike Johnson has to do the same thing for, all of his members of Congress. And so a lot of Republicans, from what I'm hearing, because I still talk to people that work on the Hill, really don't like the way he's handled a bunch of the latest negotiations on bills and things like that. He didn't hold his promise. But anybody in that speaker role, I hate to say this, is going to do that. That's kind of what the swamp does to you. It sucks you in, and you have to make these decisions based on what the makeup of the electorate looks like, I guess, or what the makeup of the members look like. I don't think that if you put anybody in that position, they're going to be that much different than Mike Johnson. I know that the Republicans are sick of the continual ousting, but for the most part, you're just going to get another Mike Johnson.